happy Monday. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine. If it's sunny where you are, it's a beautiful day here in Telegraph Cove, which I'm grateful for after a week of rain. Today, I want to start with, we're on the traditional territory of the Kwakwaka'wakw First Nation, and we're very grateful to be operating here. Today, we are talking about an issue that is starting to affect whales only fairly recently. This is ship strikes. Unfortunately, it's affecting a lot of big baleen whales, as we talked about in our animal safety video. This is often an issue for humpbacks. There was recently a humpback that was hit by a ferry near Vancouver. We have a good example of this here at the Wick. Our biggest skeleton belonging to our fin whale was one that was struck by a cruise ship in the late 1990s. Here in Johnson Strait, it was struck by a cruise ship and got lodged on the bulbous bow, which sticks out under the main part of the bow of the cruise ship. And even though this animal is huge, the cruise ship was so much bigger that they didn't even realize they'd hit it. This is shocking and very concerning, because how many other ship strikes go unnoticed? How many boats are hitting whales, and because they're so big, they don't know, and because the whale just is hit at the wrong angle, doesn't get stuck on the bow, we don't know that it got hit if it just sinks, if we don't find the body. So it's difficult to tell how many whales are really getting hit. Now, you'd think that, oh, well, the whales see the boats coming, they can just swim out of the way, but we're starting to see that it's not quite so simple. For these big whales that don't have echolocation, we're not sure yet how aware of their surroundings they are. I mean, obviously they have some awareness of what's going on, but with the amount of ship strikes that happen, this is a concerning trend. And so we're not sure if the larger baleen whales are unable to hear them. All of the vocals that the baleen whales, especially fin whales, make are in a different range of sound than the sounds that would be coming off of a cruise ship. So it is possible that they can't hear cruise ships. We don't know if they're sleeping at the surface. Because all cetaceans are doing some length of diving and spending all their life in the water, of course, they're what we call voluntary breathers. Humans are involuntary breathers, and what this means is that when you try and hold your breath, your body will eventually take over and make you breathe before you would pass out or suffocate. This is good for us living on land. We can't just suffocate ourselves. However, for whales, who hold the record for the deepest dive, which goes to a Cuvier's beaked whale at about 3 kilometers, it would be really bad if their body were to take over and make them breathe when they're 3 kilometers underwater. That would be very concerning. However, because of this, because they're in control of their breathing all the time, they have to be very conscious and aware all the time. They could never be fully unconscious, or they would drown, they would suffocate. They wouldn't be taking any more oxygen in. And so, this means that they're voluntary breathers, they're aware, they have to be conscious all the time, they can never be fully asleep. You may have heard that dolphins only rest with half of their brain at a time. This is true for all cetaceans. They're all going to be resting half of their brain at a time. For killer whales, we see this in a resting line, which is a behavior when all of the killer whales are lined up in a row, just surfacing slowly. Sometimes one will be awake to be keeping an eye on the group. Other times they'll all be resting half of their brain at once, so they can be aware enough to be surfacing and coming up to look around, but not so awake that they're not getting any rest. For these big whales who are often traveling on their own, this is just when they're resting at the surface, often just coming up for slow breaths and staying near the surface. And this means they may not be as aware of their surroundings as they could be. It's possible for these ones that if they're just resting at the surface, don't see the ships coming, they just don't know that there's something coming, they don't know there's a threat. The third possibility for fin whales is that they don't know they're in danger. When you get to be as big as this one here, 18 meters long, there are no natural predators. The only threats most of these animals are human-made. And so it's very possible they're wide awake, heading on down the strait, and they hear a boat coming, they're aware there's something in the area, but they don't know they have to get out of the way for it. So they're just thinking, oh, I'm good to go. When of course there's dangers in the waters now that wouldn't have been there even 150 years ago. And so it's really concerning to see this many ship strikes, and for things that you can do yourself. I mean, we talked about this again in our animal safety video in regards to humpbacks, but really with all cetaceans, just follow that motto. If you see a blow, go slow. Be aware of when there might be animals in the area. Slow your speed a little bit if you've heard reports of animals in the area. Keep an eye out for things. It's really important to continue raising awareness, because for a lot of bigger boats in the area that don't know that there are wildlife around, they just, I mean, almost all of the time, ship strikes are an accident. Nobody wants this to happen. Nobody. And so this is something that we all need to work together to avoid, and so that we can really raise awareness so that everybody who's out on the water knows to stay safe and to keep looking out for animals. You can see those two blocks are where the fin whale was struck by the cruise ship. This fin whale was 18 meters long, just a huge animal, and in good health at the time of death. So it was round, big, by all means should have been fully visible, but somehow this one got struck. There were reports of a fin whale in Johnstone Strait shortly before the fin whale was struck, and when it disappeared, it was assumed that it had returned to the open ocean where there would be more space. Sadly, this was untrue. When the cruise ship showed up in Vancouver Harbor, they didn't realize they'd hit it, and suddenly, oh, they got a phone call, there's a whale on the bow. So it just goes to show how reducing speeds, being aware all the time, it can really help. If it's impossible to know how things could have been different, but we know that if we're working together to keep focusing on learning more and raising awareness, this is something that we can work towards fixing. So thank you for joining me today. We're missing Emily for sure. She's on her way to Saskatoon now, so we're wishing her safe travels. So yeah, thanks so much for joining us. I hope that you learned something, and if you have any questions about ship strikes or what you can do to help prevent them, please don't hesitate to comment below or send us a message on Facebook or Instagram. We'll be happy to respond and give you all the information we can. So hope you have a great week, everyone, and enjoy the weather out there.